So you're headed to the Florida Panhandle and you keep hearing just how crazy the market is. Well, in this video, we're going to talk about 5 urgent things that you need to know before coming down here. Let's talk about it. What is going on? It is Andrew with the Emerald Group right here in the Florida Panhandle. Listen, we've got videos on just about everything you can want along the Florida Panhandle. So if you're looking to figure out everything there is to know about this area, you've come to the right place. Just make sure you hit that subscribe button and tickle that little bell so that you'll be notified every single time we do a new video. And we're getting calls, texts, and emails consistently about people wanting to move to our area. So if you've got questions on that, maybe you're thinking about moving down here, maybe you're visiting, have a couple of questions, well, go ahead and reach out to us, or of course, hit us in the comment section down below. We'd love to chat. So you're coming down here to the Florida Panhandle and you're thinking to yourself, Andrew, what does it look like to move to the Florida Panhandle right now? Now, there are a lot of things to consider, but there are 5 pretty urgent things that you need to look out for if you're thinking about moving here anytime soon. Oh, and make sure you stick around until the end of the video because we are going to shed a little bit of light on some of this darker news. So if you're thinking about moving to this area, first and foremost, our sales market is absolutely insane right now. Much like most of the country, the entire Panhandle is pretty hot. So it doesn't really matter where in this area you want to move to, you're going to deal with some of the same issues that a lot of our current customers are dealing with. Now that's not that big of a surprise at the end of the day because this is basically how a good chunk of the entire country is right now. Not only are we seeing record price high numbers for pricing and the offers that are going out to homeowners that are selling their home, but we're also seeing buyers have to take away all contingencies in order to even win the bid. And little tip for you, just make sure that you've got the right people in your corner if you are coming down here to purchase. An experienced realtor together with an experienced loan officer that is local is almost a no-brainer at this point. In fact, it's almost mandatory in order for you to win some of these bids. Having a good lender in your corner is also going to help protect you from overpaying for a property or having an exorbitant amount of fees and things like that some of the bigger banks will definitely have. And the second big urgent thing that you definitely need to know if you are moving to this area is not only is the sales market hot, the rental market is even hotter. So if you think you're going to skate the sales market by getting into the rental market, unfortunately our rentals are dried up even worse than our listings are. We're probably getting 2 to 3 calls a week of people that are just wanting to rent instead of purchase because of how the market is, and of course other reasons as well. And then we actually start helping them go through that process and they realize it is extremely difficult right now. I don't want to deter anybody from coming down here. If you're on the ball and you're able to jump on that phone and immediately hit stuff as soon as something hits your email and you find a new rental in the area, then have at it. You probably stand a pretty good chance. But if you're somebody that needs to look at the property first, if you're somebody that wants to do a little bit of research first, figure out if the neighborhood's good first instead of just blindly call and say, give it to me, then you might be in a little bit of trouble. Just yesterday, I talked to one of our great subscribers here that is looking for a new rental, and he said that on the last 2 that he called, there were over 20 applications for each one of them. And they'd only been on the market about 2 or 3 days. Now with competition like that, it's going to drive prices up even higher, which we are slowly seeing. But at the end of the day, it's just difficult to get into a rental. So if you are moving to this area and you are considering renting first, maybe look at your other options just to be safe, especially if you don't have a choice and you're going to move down here either way. Then I would definitely have both options open because you're probably going to find something first cheaper when you purchase it. You're going to have more options, even though it's still not the best, and you're not going to have to hassle with 20 different applications on every single home. When you purchase, it'll probably be just 2 or 3 other offers. So you're still going to have to compete either way. One of them's just a heck of a lot easier than the other one. Now I know we've got a dog in that fight because obviously we are a real estate company first, but at the end of the day, it is very difficult. Try them both out. If you really want to rent, try them both out, or just try to rent. Just stay on the ball if that's the case for you so that you can make sure that you get a good rental in the area. Oh, and if you're able to, make sure you allow yourself a little bit of extra time. So instead of waiting until the last moment to jump in and grab a rental like a lot of people would generally do, I mean, that's how I did it when I rented before I purchased. I would just call up as soon as I needed it, within a week and call it good. But if you need to rent and you don't have the option to purchase or you don't want to purchase, then maybe getting it a little bit earlier would definitely be better, even if that means you're paying for half a month of rent that you're not actually living in the property in. All right, number 3 on our list is our tourists right now. This This will probably end around October, maybe September, October timeframe, like it normally does. But with it being COVID, or what I should say is that COVID's kind of over, put those in heavy quotations for us. But because most of our area is kind of coming back to life, coming back to normal, I don't know if the tourists are going to stay longer than they usually do. Typically realistically, we start seeing a pretty big phase out in August as school starts, but then we'll have a lot of people that are either taking their kids out of school, homeschooling, or don't have kids that will generally stay in till about October 15th. That's generally when I tell people that, hey, our rental market out here is going to die down. I don't know if that's going to be the case this year. It doesn't look like they're slowing down anytime soon, and we're seeing record numbers to the point where I read somewhere the other day that the fire marshal was pushing people out of Okaloosa County just because of the amount of people that we had in it. Apparently it was like an ingress-egress issue, but I digress. Either way, the point is our traffic is insane right now because of all of the different tourists in the area. Now, these are going to be blocked off in pockets as far as where the traffic goes, but if you are trying to get to some of our more touristy areas, maybe to go out to dinner or go shopping or something like that, you are definitely going to be affected by the traffic. Now, at the end of the day, I know we always get comments, your traffic is nothing out there, it's nothing compared to LA, it's nothing compared to New York City. No kidding. Yeah, we're not talking that kind of traffic. You're not going to sit in traffic for 3 hours most of the time, although if there's an accident or something, that can definitely happen. But for the most part, it's just a pet peeve for us because we're already here, right? And once you get used to living in a certain area and the traffic gets heavier than normal, then of course it kind of bothers you a little bit. So yeah, it's not going to be anything like a major metropolitan area, but for us, it's still pretty rough traffic. Number 4, going along with number 3, is that we are fully open. It's like COVID never happened out here. In fact, most of the time you barely see any masks. If you do see a mask, it will be typically in a hospital setting. Maybe if you're going to the hospital for whatever reason, going to a dentist's office, or going in any sort of medical professional's office, generally there, you're going to want your mask on, or at least I believe they're the only ones that can still mandate it. And even if you see a sign on a door that says, hey, we're mandating masks, unfortunately, that doesn't mean anything here in Florida because we have a no mask mandate. So they can't force you to wear one except in very specific situations. So great for you if you are either vaccinated or you're not worried about it and you don't want to wear a mask or what have you. I'm not trying to get political here, but great for you if that falls into the category for you. Don't need to wear a mask. In fact, I actually used to carry masks in every one of my pockets. I do have one in this one, but for the most part, all of my pants have been ridden of masks. And generally now, if I do need to get one, I kind of panic for a split second because I'm like, oh shoot, but luckily I keep some in my car. So keep that in mind that you might have to pop it on here and there, but for the most part, it's basically done. We're at full capacity for everything. All of our events are going on full, even our big outdoor events, even our big get-together events, our tacos and tequila, where a bunch of people are getting together in a tight quarter to try tacos and tequila, exactly like what it sounds like. Billy Bowlegs, one of our big pirate festivals, just all of these things. They're fully open. It's not slowed down. There's no restrictions as far as I know of. So if that entices you to come down here and visit or move down here, then great. If that deters you, well, that's good information for you as well. All right, number 5, I do want to hit this topic. This is almost like a little bit of a market update and how I would like to relay this to you guys, but here's what it's looking like. Everything that I said in the beginning with sales and rentals being kind of crazy right now, well, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. We're starting to show some pretty heavy indicators that there is a correction coming in play, at least for our area. I can't speak for other parts of the country, so don't use this in any other form, but we are starting to see some pretty heavy indicators that are showing the market's going to slow down, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to become a buyer's market. In fact, I don't think there is going to be a shift in the traditional sense. I think there will be a small correction. As more listings come up onto the market, more people start moving in and out, more homes are being built. There's a lot of other indicators that I want to talk about right now. So although we are seeing record numbers of prices, and I don't think those are going to go anywhere, I do think that the crazy offers well above list price with all contingencies being removed, all of that, I think that are a thing of the past. Probably give it about 3 to 6 months, probably leaning heavier on 6 months, and that's going to kind of wipe out. So by the end of 2021, I expect the market to kind of normalize in how it was last year, where sure, the prices are still higher, but we weren't getting any of the insane offers, and there was a little bit more negotiating room. And this always makes us as agents feel a little bit better, even if we are working with the seller, because at least now everybody feels like there's a win-win. When the market is heavily against one side or the other, whether it's a buyer or a seller, whichever one it's against, advance typically feels like they're kind of losing out, and I don't blame them. Now, if you are coming in here anytime in the next 6 months, I don't think you're going to have to deal with any of the changes, so keep that in mind, that if you are moving down here from now until the end of 2021, you're still probably going to have to come in hot with all of your offers. But of course, if you have questions on that as time goes on, we keep a heavy, finger on the pulse of the market. So just call us, reach out to us, comment down below however you want, and we'll give you an update as necessary. So quick recap over the last 6 months of what we have been seeing. We've been seeing appraisal gaps come in, which is where somebody is willing to pay above what the actual market value on the property is based on an appraiser's professional opinion, and that they're paying cash above and beyond that. We're also seeing all contingencies being removed, so no closing cost assistance. Buyers paying title companies instead of the seller paying it. Just about anything you can think of. Repair limits being lowered, as is being thrown, properties being thrown on the market as is, being sold as is, not doing any repairs, cosmetic or otherwise. All of these things are very common right now over the last 6 months that will slowly be trending out. That being said, looking at the future projections and having a massive number of increase of listings, which is what we're starting to see across the board in most of our cities, with a couple of exceptions. But from Pensacola to Panama City Beach, for the most part, we're seeing more listings and less buyer inventory buying it down. In fact, for the first time in a while, for about 8 months actually, we are starting to see more listings come on than buyers are buying them up. This is a pretty good indicator, although this could be a couple of month fluke, and it could very well go back to normal. But if it keeps trending in this direction, then eventually the crazy offers will stop, as more inventory will give buyers more options, and whenever somebody hassles with them pretty hard, they can say, see ya, I'll find something else. We are also seeing a decrease in what's called list to price ratio, which is how much it is listed versus what it actually sells for, the list to the sold price ratio. In a lot of our markets, that has actually been above 100% on average for the last 4 months or so, and we're now starting to see that shift a little bit, and it actually going down into about the 98th percentile, meaning if somebody listed it for 100,000, they're getting 98% of that, they're getting about 98,000 on average. This is also showing that buyer fatigue is starting to set in, and people are not willing to go as high and crazy as they have before, because prices have finally stabilized, or not stabilized, but finally gotten to a point where they can start stabilizing out because they've increased at a certain rate for so long. At the end of the day, there's only so much a buyer's willing to pay. You can keep throwing, more and more money on top of that and keep asking for a higher and higher list price, but at the end of the day, eventually you're going to tap out what the average buyer can do. Now, I'm not going to go over individual numbers on any of the specific cities as we go, but just note there are a lot of indicators. We're getting more price reductions, a record number of price reductions happening in the market, which means somebody tried to price it aggressively, and then they eventually have to knock the price down because they went a little bit too hard on their price. Now, this could be because seller confidence has gone up quite a bit, or it could just be because they're pricing it where they thought it would be, and buyers are just not having it anymore. So all of this is showing that we're likely headed to a slightly more stabilized market, at least when it comes to some of the terms and conditions that are being offered on some of these properties. Now, keep in mind, at the end of the day, nobody can predict the market, even myself. So even though we're seeing indicators of this, it doesn't necessarily mean it's true until, of course, it happens. Now, right now, the reason why we think home prices are still going to continue to rise is because at the end of the day, we still have the largest force of home buyers coming into the market. Now, the millennials are turning on average like 33, 35 years old, somewhere in that range, and that is when most people are buying their first home, which means we've got a massive influx of first-time home buyers and not enough properties to fulfill them. Part of the reason being is that our home builders in this country were supposed to be building on average approximately 1 million homes per year over the last decade, and they have not been. In fact, for the first part of this last decade, it has actually been under half of that amount. Now, here in 2021 for 2022, I believe I read somewhere that we have 1.3 million homes contracted or permitted to eventually get built, which means they're finally starting to exceed that and catch up a little bit, but they are still being a little bit slow. Now, honestly, I can't blame them because they got hit pretty hard during the collapse last time because they were aggressively ahead of the market and wanting to do exactly what the market was dictating. So this time, I think that's part of the reason why they pumped the brakes a little bit and eased off and haven't been building near as many homes. So what does this mean exactly? Well, simply put, it means that the outlandish offers should be going away over the next 6 months, and slowly over time, the prices will still continue to rise, but at least the offers will stabilize and get a little bit more competitive. This will still make it easy for first-time home buyers to reach home ownership while still giving home sellers exactly what they need in order for them to move up in their next purchase. And I think this is a really good thing because as home sellers start saying, hey, it's a little bit easier to purchase a home. Yeah, I'm not going to get an outlandish offer on mine, but I could definitely move somewhere and I could buy a home there without fear of paying or overpaying for the property. It's the #1 complaint or objection that we get as real estate agents here right now in this market is, well, well, if I sold my house, where would I move? Well, this is going to alleviate some of that as they start saying, yeah, sure, I'm going to pay top dollar for the house, but I'm not going to have to give an arm and a leg just to make sure that I secure that property from other buyers. Then maybe they throw their house on the market, which gives us more inventory for other people, and you see that cycle rinsing and repeating and helping us all out. Now, of course, all of this is just one man's opinion, so take it with a grain of salt. We have no idea exactly where everything is going to go. We can just try to predict as best as we can. Hope this video was helpful to you. If it was, hit that like button, turn it blue for me. It really helps us out, and it helps us get the word out for more people, which is great. And well, that's all we got. See ya.